Today, I want to tell you a story. A story about a young man who discovered that his greatest weapon wasn't his voice. It wasn't his anger. It wasn't even his intelligence. It was his silence. There was a young man named Aryan. He grew up in a small, dusty town where everyone had an opinion and everyone shared it loudly. Aryan was no different. He was bright. He was passionate. He had dreams bigger than the town he lived in. But whenever things went wrong, and they often did, Aryan would react instantly, emotionally, loudly. Someone disrespected him, he argued back. Someone doubted him, he tried to prove them wrong, right then, right there. Someone challenged his ideas, he fought until he won the conversation. Even when he lost the situation, he thought this was strength. He didn't know yet. It was the very thing holding him back. At 23, Aryan tried starting a small business. It failed. Not because his idea was bad, but because every time a partner disagreed, Aryan reacted with emotion. Meetings became arguments. Arguments became walls. And slowly, people stopped working with him. He applied for opportunities, got rejected, and every rejection made him louder, more bitter, more defensive. They don't see my worth, he told himself. He was exhausted, fighting everything, winning nothing. One evening, he sat alone on the steps outside his home, staring at the road, wondering why effort alone wasn't enough. His name was Rajan, a retired man in his 70s. Calm eyes, slow steps, a man of very few words. The whole neighborhood knew him, but nobody really knew him. He never argued, never complained loudly, yet somehow, when Rajan spoke, even softly, everyone listened. Aryan had always found that strange. That evening, Rajan walked over and sat beside him without being asked. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Rajan said quietly, "You look like a man who has been fighting the wind." Aryan laughed bitterly. And losing. Rajan didn't respond with advice. Instead, he simply said, "Come with me tomorrow morning." The next morning, Rajan took Aryan to a small river outside the town. He pointed to two things. First, a large rock in the middle of the river. The water crashed into it violently, splashing, roaring, breaking apart. The rock stood unmoved, but the water lost its direction, scattered everywhere, weakening as it spread. Then he pointed downstream, where the same river, now calm and focused, quietly carved its path through the earth. Deep, steady, unstoppable. Rajan said nothing for a moment. Then he spoke. The water that crashes and makes noise, it feels powerful, but it loses its shape. It loses its direction. He paused. But the quiet water, it does not react to every stone. It does not argue with every obstacle. It simply moves. And over time, he pointed to the deep valley carved by the river. It reshapes the entire land. Aryan stared at that valley. Something shifted inside him. He had always believed that reacting was strength, that being loud was being powerful. But standing there by the river, he saw himself, not as a deep, moving force, but as water crashing into every rock it met, scattering, exhausting itself, going nowhere. His battles weren't making him stronger. They were making him smaller. True strength wasn't in the noise. It was in the direction. Something changed in Aryan after that morning. Not overnight. Slowly. He stopped arguing in moments that didn't matter. When someone provoked him, he breathed and chose silence. When rejection came, he stopped reacting and started reflecting. He used the energy he once wasted in arguments and poured it into his work. Months passed. His ideas became clearer. His relationships became steadier. People who once found him exhausting now found him trustworthy. He didn't win because he became louder. He won because he became deeper. Just like Aryan, many of us spend enormous energy reacting to things that do not deserve our reaction. We fight battles that don't need to be fought. We explain ourselves to people who aren't listening. We scatter our strength in 100 directions and wonder why we feel empty. The quietest people are not weak. They are simply wise enough to know not every stone deserves a crash. Real inner strength is not about how much noise you make when you're pushed. It's about how clearly you move when everything tries to stop you. The world will always have distractions. People who doubt you, moments that provoke you. But here is the truth. The river that carved the Grand Canyon didn't shout. It simply kept moving. Your silence is not emptiness. It is focus. Your calm is not weak. If this story spoke to something inside you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Like this video, subscribe for more stories like this, and keep moving forward, quietly and powerfully.